there. And I am a farmer's daughter. Back in the day, my grandparents immigrated here from Germany, and they worked really hard to save some money and bought a farm. And they raised, my father was their only son, so it was a very small operation, a couple of 100 acres, and I was the first child, which means I was the first son, for those of you that are first daughters. And we farmed using bales of hay and the fork and pulled it up and stacked it up on a hay rack. I mean, it's very traditional, old-style farming. In 1973, I left the farm and came here for 2 quarters and ended up finally in Chicago and lived there for 30 years. When my father got ill, I moved back home to Iowa, as all good daughters do, and I've been here since. That's been about 7 years. From 1973 to 2006, farming is an entirely different animal. I had no idea. I saw these huge things that look like something out of Star Wars. I think they're pterogators. Blew me away. That was the first thing I wanted to write in. And I knew coming back that I had this love of history and this love of farming, that some way I had to find a way to merge the storytelling of growing up in this farm and what farming is like now. And the best way for me to do that was to start working at the Chamber of Commerce. Doesn't make any sense, right? Actually, it does. The Chamber of Commerce where I live is for the entire county, Greater Franklin County, and it gave me the opportunity to meet people like Shannon Latham, like Val Plaguey, Larry Seiler, who I grew up in the same town as Larry, but we become better friends because I work at the Chamber. And what's that got to do with the State of Now conference, you ask? Well, there's a lot of connections. One of the things that I do is connect people, and I do that in my day job at the Chamber, but I also do it in events like this. I started blogging and got invited on a blogger's tour in Hutchinson, Kansas. So I went and with 10 other bloggers and started figuring out how we as a community could tell our story in a different way. And one of those ways was by building connections, bringing in new people to tell your story that you've heard over and over and over again. I could talk about growing up in my teens farming, but nobody here really cares, really. However, because you all grew up that way. But when I start talking, going to New York and talking conferences, they all want to hear about that. It's crazy. And that's one of the things that social media allows us to do. We can stay right where we are and talk about the things we know and share our stories and share our histories by using social media. One of the other things that I've learned since I've been back is the importance of volunteering. And in Iowa, we know how to do that pretty well. It's taken for granted that you should join the Lions Club or the Kiwanis or some organization, maybe your church club, and help somebody, because that's what we do here. But if we don't tell those stories and get that out there, there are people in other parts of the world that don't volunteer, don't have a clue. And I think it's part of our job to tell our ag story the same way. The numbers today kind of amaze me. 1% of the population farms, and only 2% works in the industry. Those are crazy numbers, when half the people I know are in that industry. So I think we need to tell our stories a little bit more. And the thing I heard over and over today was get out of your comfort zone. Try new things. So what, you're not a blogger? So what? Put your fingers on the keyboard and start writing. It's different, it's new. People want to hear what you have to say. And finally, to close, because I'm not taking 10 minutes, I want the speakers to come up and answer questions. The one thing that you can leave here with is tell the stories that you heard today and share the people that you've met today. But it's very important that not only our country, but our world understands that we feed the world. We do that. We do that here in Iowa. That's our biggest industry. We feed the world. And it's up to you guys, the 2%, to share that story. So please continue to do so. Thank you. All right, stand up.